wireless router. 11th hop. Google server. In the previous example, the packet started in the city of Sunnyvale, bounced to Santa Clara, then Oakland, returned to San Jose, got routed to the 529 Bryant data center, at which point it was routed toward Google and arrived at its destination, the 11th hop. This entire process took, on average, 18 milliseconds. Not bad, all things considered, but in the same time, the packet could have traveled across most of the continental USA. The last mile latencies can vary wildly between ISPs due to the deployed technology, topology of the network, and even the time of day. As an end user, and if you are looking to improve your web browsing speeds, make sure to measure and compare the last mile latencies of the various providers available in your area. Latency, not bandwidth, is the performance bottleneck for most websites. To understand why, we need to understand the mechanics of TCP and HTTP protocol subjects WELL, be covering in subsequent chapters. However, if you are curious, feel free to skip ahead to more bandwidth DOS and matter much. Measuring latency with Traceroute. Traceroute is a simple network diagnostics tool for identifying the routing path of the packet and the latency of each network hop in a NIP network. To identify the individual hops, it sends a sequence of packets toward the destination with an increasing hop limit, 1, 2, 3, and so on. When the hop limit is reached, the intermediary returns an ICMP time exceeded message, allowing the tool to measure the latency for each network hop. On Unix platforms, the tool can be run from the command line via Traceroute, and on Windows it is known as Tracert. Bandwidth in core networks. An optical fiber acts as a simple light pipe, slightly thicker than a human hair, designed to transmit light between the two ends of the cable. Metal wires are also used, but are subject to higher signal loss, electromagnetic interference, and higher lifetime maintenance costs. Chances are, your packets will travel over both types of cable, but for any long-distance hops, they will be transmitted over a fiber optic link. Optical fibers have a distinct advantage when it comes to bandwidth because each fiber can carry many different wavelengths channels of light through a process known as wavelength division multiplexing WDM. Hence, the total bandwidth of a fiber link is the multiple of per channel data rate and the number of multiplexed channels. As of early 2010, researchers have been able to multiplex over 400 wavelengths with a peak capacity of 171 bit/s per channel, which translates to over 70 bit/s of total bandwidth for a single fiber link. We would need thousands of copper wire electrical links to match this throughput. Not surprisingly, most long-distance hops, such as subsea data transmission between continents, is now done over fiber optic links. Each cable carries several strands of fiber. 4 strands is a common number, which translates into bandwidth capacity in hundreds of terabits per second for each cable. Bandwidth at the network edge. The backbones, or the fiber links, that form the core data paths of the internet are capable of moving hundreds of terabits per second. However, the available capacity at the edges of the network is much less, and varies wildly based on deployed technology. Dial-up, DSL, cable, a host of wireless technologies, fiber to the home, and even the performance of the local router. The available bandwidth to the user is a function of the lowest capacity link between the client and the destination server. Figure 1:1. Akamai Technologies operates a global CDN with servers positioned around the globe and provides free quarterly reports at AKAMAI's website on average broadband speeds as seen by their servers. Table 1-2 captures the macro trends as of late 2015. Rank country average Mbps year-over-year change. Global 5.114%. 1 South Korea 20.5 minus 19% to Sweden 17.4, 23% 3 Norway 16.4, 44% 4 Switzerland 16.2, 12% 5 Hong Kong 15.8, 2.7%, 21 United States 12.69.4%. Table 1 to 2. Average bandwidth speeds as seen by Akamai servers in Q3 2015. The preceding data excludes traffic from mobile carriers, a topic we will come back to later to examine in closer detail. For now, it should suffice to say that mobile speeds are highly variable and generally slower. However, even with that in mind, the average global broadband bandwidth in late 2015 was just 5.1 Mbps. South Korea led the world with a 20.5 Mbps average throughput, and United States came in 21st place with 12.6 Mbps. As a reference point, streaming an HD video can require anywhere from 2 to 10 Mbps, depending on resolution and the codec. So an average user within the United States can stream a high-resolution video at the network edge, but doing so would also consume much of their link capacity. Not a very promising story for a household with multiple users. Figuring out where the bandwidth bottleneck is for any given user is often a non-trivial but important exercise. Once again, for the curious, there are a number of online services, such as speedtest.net, operated by Ookla Figure 1 to 2, which provide upstream and downstream tests against a nearby server. We will see why picking a local server is important in our discussion on TCP. Running a test on one of these services is a good way to check that your connection meets the advertised speeds of your local ISP. Figure 1 to 2. Upstream and downstream test speedtest.net, Figure 1 to 2. Upstream and downstream test speedtest.net. However, while a high bandwidth link to your ISP is desirable, it is also not a guarantee of end-to-end performance. Just because a bandwidth test promises high data rates does not mean that you can or should expect same performance from other remote servers. The network could be congested at any intermediate node due to high demand, hardware failures, a concentrated network attack, or a host of other reasons. High variability of throughput and latency performance is an inherent property of our data networks. Predicting, managing, and adapting to the continuously changing network weather is a complex task. Delivering higher bandwidth and lower latencies. Our demand for higher bandwidth is growing fast, in large part due to the rising popularity of streaming video, which is now responsible for well over half of all internet traffic. The good news is, while it may not be cheap, there are multiple strategies available for us to grow the available capacity. We can add more fibers into our fiber optic links, we can deploy more links across the congested routes, or we can improve the WDM techniques to transfer more data through existing links. Telegeography, a telecommunications market research and consulting firm, estimates that as of 2011, we are using, on average, just 20% of the available capacity of the deployed subsea fiber links. Even more importantly, between 2007 and 2011, more than half of all the added capacity of the Trans-Pacific cables was due to WDM upgrades. Same fiber links, better technology on both ends to multiplex the data. Of course, we cannot expect these advances to go on indefinitely, as every medium reaches a point of diminishing returns. Nonetheless, as long as economics of the enterprise permit, there is no fundamental reason why bandwidth throughput cannot be increased over time. If all else fails, we can add more fiber links. Improving latency, on the other hand, is a very different story. The quality of the fiber links could be improved to get us a little closer to the speed of light. Better materials with lower refractive index, and faster routers along the way. However, given that our current speeds are already within tilde 2/3 of the speed of light, the most we can expect from this strategy is just a modest 30% improvement. Unfortunately, there is simply no way around the laws of physics. The speed of light places a hard limit on the minimum latency. Alternatively, since we can't make light travel faster, we can make the distance shorter. The shortest distance between any 2 points on the globe is defined by the Great Circle path between them. However, laying new cables is also not always possible due to the constraints imposed by the physical terrain, social and political reasons, and of course, the associated costs. As a result, to improve performance of our applications, we need to architect and optimize our protocols and network encode with explicit awareness of the limitations of available bandwidth and the speed of light. We need to reduce round trips, move the data closer to the client, and build applications that can hide the latency through catch-em, prefetch-em, and a variety of similar techniques, as explained in subsequent chapters.